Okay guys, going to show you how to do some text editing. Now we can all write text and put text onto an image, but I'm going to show you how to style it. I'm going to show you a few different methods. You can do the layer effects way, which I prefer, or there's a few manual ways, like the old school ways before layer effects were introduced. And then also I'm going to show you some quick effects that you can use with fonts just to make them stand out a wee bit better. So as you can see here we have an image. It is completed, this one, but as you can see there's no text, and we're going to add some text and we're going to stylize it. So on Photoshop, press T on your keyboard for shortcut for text. So hit T. It brings up your text cursor. Now click on the image, make a new text layer, and for the sake of this we'll just call it dragon, because that's what he is in the image. Okay, now you can't really see that much because up here you have your text settings. That's the font. This is the style, set in regular. Text size and anti-aliasing. So first of all, let's increase the size so it's easier to read. It'd be good if I highlighted it. You can click on it or just use the up keys. Then drag and move. Okay. Now obviously there's the text color, so obviously you can change the color of the text. This is the base color. So there's plain white. Now at the moment I see a lot of people just leaving it like that. They might even add a wee bit of opacity to it, so it looks greyed out. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a different effect you could do. So I'm going to show you all different types of effects. Okay. Over here we have my character window. Now what this does, this edits the text a wee bit further, so it's almost like advanced settings. So I'm going to select the text, highlight it all, and what this does with this slide, you can either use the drop down with the preset, or you can use a slider. I'm actually going to make the letters closer to one another, or you can make them wider. So I like that there. And just move it with my arrow keys. Actually, it's a wee bit too close. And then on this here, you can on text. Here's your text. The font families. Just using the arrow keys, I can go down. It goes through the fonts. I actually like that one. That's a standard font for everyone to use. That's not a custom font, so feel free to use it. Okay, so now that we know what text we want, what size it is, and what placement, we're going to do the text editing. Okay, so in Photoshop there's a thing called layer effects. Now it's down here, FX. Okay, so these are all the different effects you can add on. Let me start by the main one I would use is the stroke. Okay, so this is the effects, and this is the breakdown, and this is the settings for that effect. Now a stroke is an outline around the text. Obviously you can set it to inside or center, but most 90% of the time, you're going to use outside. Size, you can increase, decrease. I usually use 1 or 2 pixels. This gives a nice wee sharp feeling. Select your colour and your blending mode. So if I used to use black, that's black 100% normal, or I could use overlay. So what that does, it's bringing in the darkness from behind. So that's a nice wee effect. In this image, that's actually not too bad, just keeping it plain white, but I'm going to show you for this video different ways to stylize it. You can have a colour overlay, which overrides the base colour. You can get some cool effects with that. Main one I would probably use would be the gradient overlay. Same again, you can have normal, the opacity, so it doesn't affect it as much. It's default to black and white. So if I wanted to, I could pick this colour here, colour black. Instead of using the colour window, you can sample a colour from the actual image using the colour picker. It automatically changes to the colour picker. So that blue. So there you go. So it's picked that blue, and so what that is doing now, it is fading from blue to white. So blue to white. You can obviously change the scale. Maybe it's fading too much. Bring it down, or you can increase it so it gives it a longer blur. But that's not too bad there. I'm actually going to change that stroke to normal again. It's actually a bit too strong. There we go. Drop shadow would be a good one. What this does, gives a wee shadow behind it, so it looks like it's floating. Gives like almost like a wee 3D effect. These are always the default settings. So the size I would bring down a wee bit. Distance. Now if you on this setting and you prefer these as your default settings, you can hit make default. So the next time you come to use this, these settings will be the new default. Okay, so there's a wee drop shadow. Let's see the distance. That's a wee bit better. What I like to do is a wee bit of inner glow. Now inner glow happens obviously inside. So what I like to do, it's all set to solid color of this, yellow, or you can change it to a gradient. But for this, I'm going to keep it in solid color. Change it to normal, sorry, not overlay. Same again, instead of using the color square or the sliders, I'm going to sample a color, but I'm going to try and sample a color that is lighter than this blue. That's too dark. Now obviously now I've got the sample color, here it is here. Lighter above, darker below. So if I want it lighter, just click above. Click above again. So there you go. And what this looks like it's given, even though it's almost the same color, now there's a wee bit of white. Now that white almost looks like a reflection, a nice shine to it. Okay. So that's layer effects. I'm not going to go through every single one because some of them are simple to understand. Inner shadow is the opposite of inner glow. Bevel and emboss. I don't mind using it, but it's very tricky at times. It's really hard to get a good desired effect. Again, you can have an outer glow. You can increase the brightness, the spread. etc. Okay, so the good thing about layer effects, there is a drop down of the ones that have been added to this text layer. Good thing about this, it's not permanent. So what that means on the text, if I wanted to say change that letter, say to 0 or not, the text layer keeps in line. So I don't need to keep on doing it. I don't need to keep on reapplying the text effect. It overrides. So I'll just keep it normal. Keep it a wee bit. So now I'm going to do, I'm going to clear the layer effect and go back to normal. Now I'm going to show you some tips and tricks. What you could do is add a drop shadow only. I'm just going to make it a wee bit smaller. Okay, so there's a wee dark shadow behind it. In Photoshop you have a fill. I'm going to bring this fill down to 0%. So that gives a nice, almost like a glass effect. So it's using the background colour, but the shadow is giving you the illusion it's popping out. So that's how you use that effect. And I'll just Command C to bring these back to normal. If you wanted, this is a manual way of doing another text effect. What I could do is duplicate the layer. So now we have 2 dragon layers. There's one there, and there's another one. Exact same. But in this one, what I'm going to do is go to Filter. What I'm actually going to do first is change the color. So T for your text, highlight your color, highlight your text on the color palette. I'm going to change it to a nice blue. That's a wee bit too dark. So just up a wee bit. Okay. So bottom layer is blue, top layer is white. On the bottom layer, on the blue layer, I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. A pop-up window will appear. You have to rasterize the type. What that is, at the moment this is a vector layer. We're going to turn it into a raster layer so we can edit it. Hit OK. Now here's the preview window. Obviously we're blurring it, but we're going to just blur it a wee bit, not too much. Now obviously it's blurred, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in the normal text layer above it. Now I'm going to zoom in. That's out, zoom in. So if you can't use layer effects, there's a simple method of giving you a nice stroke around your text. So there's a normal text without the Gaussian back layer behind it, and there it is with. What else could I show you? Sometimes if you wanted to, I'll create a new layer, a new normal layer. I'm going to zoom in. You can grab your line tool, or for this instance I'm going to use my pencil. Increase the size to say 3 pixels. And draw a line. I like that because what that is doing, it's behind it. So obviously the letter G is above it, so it's coming above. Go to the top. Or what you could do, you could have the G look like this line is actually going through the lip. Now to do that, for this instance, I'm going to merge these two layers. So this text layer is now on one layer, which is a raster layer. I'm going to go to my layer effect. No, sorry. Layer mask. Now we have a layer mask added. Now on layer mask, I like to use the brush. Don't forget now, black hides, white shows. So if I zoom in, when I like to do this nice and close, because you get in nice and close and get nice some fine detail. Okay, so here's the line. I want this line to come over this part of the letter. So on the text layer, what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide. Now with the brush, I'm just going to, sorry, with the pencil tool, just make that a wee bit sharper. If I zoom out, I'll see how that looks. Starting to get there, but what I'm going to do is take away that pencil stroke. So now we're at 100%. Now it gives the illusion that the line is going through the loop of the letter G. What you could do now, that's only one text layer. What you would see is probably another layer text and another layer text, so it's kind of like three words smashed together, and it gives a nice cool effect. So I'm going to add my watermark. I don't like that blue, I'm going to change it to white for this matter. Now I have my sweet font I like to use for this. So here's my font. Too big, so I'm going to resize. Just going to use the down arrows. Same again, come in. Now what I could do without rasterizing this, I can still add a layer mask, which is non-destructive. Now obviously it's the same colour, the text is the same colour, so there you go. Just gives that a bit more added effect to it. What else? Let's see. So let me undo these. Okay. So on the plain text, maybe you're not happy how a letter looks. You can obviously change how a letter looks. It's not permanent. So I could go to rasterize, right click on the text layer, rasterize. And let's just say I don't like these bits sticking out. Either use an eraser, not a pencil, an eraser. And we set it to pencil mode. There we go, straight edge. So you can do many things with fonts. Now obviously since I've used the eraser tool, that's it done unless I use the undo function. Okay. So another wee effect. Here's your text, put its layer effects on it, and we add a new normal layer. And I'm going to bring up my brush palette. So you select my brush, my pencil. So right click, brush. And here's all my brushes. You can have, let me see, I'm going to load up where's my brushes. See, these are my default ones I like to use. I'm going to load up my stars. So here's some star brushes. Now the number on the star means the size is this size. So if I was to click this, it's 709 pixels. And there's a preview which is massive. So I'm going to slide it down. Now it's that small, you can't see a preview. It's that big, it's just too big. So on the image, I zoom in using white as my colour because stars are white, of course. Is click. Or you could use a different brush. Still a wee bit too big. Again. Zoom out. When I zoom out, there you go. Looks like the text is twinkling. Gives a nice wee reflection. There's another wee text effect. Just using a simple brush. So white colour. Don't even change the blend mode or nothing. You can obviously mess with these, but there's no need to because it just works. So don't be afraid to try different effects because what at the moment, like I said earlier, that's what people are leaving the image as, or changing the opacity. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, especially if the image, say, it's a new layer. Okay, so plain black background text layer, if I use 25%, looks grey. Now that may be your desired effect. If it's not, don't be afraid to change the colour or add a wee bit of effects to it. So I'm just going to take that off, delete that layer. And there we go. Just a quick video showing how to put effects on text with different effects and other wee methods. Oh, sorry, one more. I'll show you one more. Move it down. Okay. So same again. I'm going to duplicate this layer. So you can either right click, duplicate, or use the shortcut. So Command J. There you go. Copy. I usually find it better to use the shortcut keys. On the dragon copy on the bottom, which is a text layer, I'm going to filter again, blur, but this time I'm going to use motion blur. Same again. I said OK. Now you can change the angle, but I like to keep the angle 0%, which is horizontal. And you can just Right, get your length. So there you go, there's another quick effect, just using a few clicks, nothing special, but yet very effective. Okay, so that'll do for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.